What's already welcome back to News Dose, and unfortunately, we have a massive delay to talk about today, and this very well could change the course of 2025 and what could potentially happen. This will cause a chain of events. So what I can kind of say here is that for a lot of people, this is probably not going to be the best news in the world. But at the same time, there is actually a silver lining to this, which could potentially be a good thing depending on how you look at it, and I'm going to explain why today. More so, though, we do have a very exciting remake to talk about because Oblivion Remastered isn't the only beloved classic that's seemingly set to return. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go get right into things, though, starting off with Expedition 33. This very well could end up being the game of the year, and I mean, everybody right now is seemingly raving about it. Of course, it's the highest reviewed game of 2025, and that's not just by critics. Fans are also describing it as one of the best, just absolute best, turn-based RPGs of all time. It has a 9.7 user score on Metacritic, which is absolutely insane, and it also has a 93% approval rate on Steam. So this game really is just firing on all cylinders right now. But even with all that, the one thing that I personally was concerned about, and we've talked about this, is whether or not it can find success during a very busy week in gaming. I don't like how Microsoft just dropped Oblivion 2 days before its release. And I thought that could potentially take away from what is a stellar game here. And it also launched the same day that the Switch 2 pre-orders went live. So I don't think that it necessarily got as much media coverage as it deserved. But the good news here is that none of that really seems to have mattered. Word of mouth is crazy for this game right now. And now its publisher confirmed that Oblivion did not impact its sales numbers negatively. This is what they said about it launching so close to Oblivion. During the Xbox Summer Showcase, our game was placed alongside Gears of War, Fable, and products that are very traditionally known as AAA products. Also, by the time that we rolled around, we had momentum of our own, and we felt pretty confident that we could stand beside it. I think there were other aspects, like the price point we were at and the inclusion in Game Pass. So we knew we would have a lot of interest around the game. We were confident in that, and it went as well as it possibly could have done in our eyes. And actually, proximity to Oblivion didn't seem to harm us at all. In many ways, I think it just drew attention to quality RPGs that week, and everybody was thinking and talking about the genre. Yeah, that's definitely a different perspective than what I had. I didn't really think about it in that way, and even though there was some overlap, they mentioned that 35% of Expedition 33 players also played Oblivion Remastered. So again, there was some overlap, but it still didn't negatively impact their expectations, which is really some of the best news that we could have possibly have gotten for a brand new IP. I'm a big fan of JRPGs and turn-based games, and to see a new IP like this just kind of flip the industry on its head, I think is going to be a good thing, not only for this game and its studio, but really for the entire industry going forward. It's kind of proof that you can make these type of games and have success with them. This is just one of the lessons to be had for bigger publishers like Square Enix, which has, lost confidence in AAA turn-based games over the years. So this really is a big turn of events, and just big congrats to the team of Expedition 33, Sandfall Interactive. If this game continues to grow the way it has been, they very well might end up being a household name for the game industry soon enough. Now, there's also a rumor going around that Valve's new 6 vs 6 hero shooter, Deadlock, will quote-unquote likely get its open beta this July. Now, this comes from a content creator by the name of Sleep Live that claims that they have inside sources. So right away, just kind of take this news with a grain of salt until we get something a little bit more official. But at the same time, I don't think that this claim is necessarily too outlandish, given the circumstances. Deadlock has been in a closed beta for a better part of a year by this point, so an open beta, sooner rather than later, makes a lot of sense. I mean, whenever this game eventually does release, though, it's going to be a huge launch. Last year in August, it actually ended up reaching 170,000 concurrent players, despite it being in a closed beta. So the interest is definitely there, and this very well could end up being the next major multiplayer game, which, given Valve's reputation, that shouldn't be all that surprising. There's a lot of excitement for this game, so crossing my fingers that this one ends up being true. Okay, so let's go and get into the big news here, and we might as well just go and start off with the bad. Let's just go and rip the Band-Aid off, if you will, because Rockstar confirmed that GTA 6 will indeed be delayed to 2026. You can read their full press release here, which says, Grand Theft Auto 6 is now set to release on May 26 of 2026. We are very sorry that this is later than you expected. The interest and excitement surrounding a new Grand Theft Auto has been truly humbling for our entire team. We want to thank you for your support and your patience as we work to finish the game. With every game we have released, the goal has always been to try and exceed our expectations, and Grand Theft Auto 6 is no exception. We hope you understand that we need this extra time to deliver at the level of quality you expect and deserve. And that's the part that's truly important. Now, I'm going to just be honest with y'all here. I'm not even slightly surprised by this announcement. I'm no more surprised by this than I am when LeBron flops right out of the playoffs. Go and cue the excuses. It's just expected by this point. But, if there's any surprise that comes from this announcement, I'd say it's that they gave a precise release date. So there is that. And if there's any good news for you GTA fans out there, it's that it's not a late 2026 release, or I'm going to go and say at least yet. I'm still a little bit skeptical of this release date because here's the thing. Reportedly, GTA 6 employees didn't actually believe that Grand Theft Auto 6 was going to come out in 2025, even prior to its delay. Jason Schreier said, "Nobody I've talked to at Rockstar has believed fall 2025 was a real window for a very long time now. Too much work, not enough time, and what appears to be a real desire from management to avoid brutal crunch. GTA 6 slipping to 2026 has seemed inevitable for months, if not longer." So what that tells me is that Rockstar and Take-Two were on completely different pages for its release date. Basically, Take-Two was really hoping that it was going to release this year, despite Rockstar's progress. And even for this new release date, I do have to kind of wonder if that still remains the same. And I'm just going to say this. This delay is probably a good thing. I know people hear delays and they get frustrated about it because, we all want to play something sooner rather than later. But I always like to use Cyberpunk 2077 as an example. When that game first launched, that's a great game now, but upper management initially rushed it out. And because of that, it faced a lot of turbulence when it, originally launched. It was a buggy mess to the extent that Sony actually took it off of the PlayStation Store there for a while. That is unheard of for a big AAA game. So if you think about it that way, Take-Two is at least avoiding a similar situation by giving Rockstar more time. But I'm also going to say this. There is a silver lining for this announcement. Even though I know there's a lot of excitement for GTA 6, I get that. This is a massive game. It's going to be one of the biggest launches of all time, if not the very biggest. But there is this other reality that because it's so big, pretty much every other publisher has reportedly been trying to avoid launching near GTA 6 this year. So if you look at the rest of 2025 today, you'll kind of notice that we don't have a lot of confirmed games for 2025. Well, that's now going to change, and because of GTA's delay, that could potentially mean that we'll actually get even more holiday games than what we would have if GTA would have launched this year. So, a little bit of a silver lining here. Now, one last thing before we go, though, and even though the GTA delay is technically the bigger news today, to me, and I can only speak for myself here, but I'm actually more excited about this topic and what seems to be an announcement of an all-time great game. This comes from an interview by the Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii, where he may have accidentally revealed a Chrono Trigger remake. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that again. A Chrono Trigger remake. This is a game that fans have been clamoring about for years and years and years, because there's a lot of people that genuinely believe that this is one of the greatest games ever made, or at the very least, one of the best JRPGs ever made. It is an all-time classic. And what happened here is that during an interview, he reportedly confirmed the existence of a Chrono Trigger remake. And then the host kind of realized his slip up and whispered something into his ear. And that's when he realized his mistake and covered his mouth, almost as if he was saying, oops, I wasn't supposed to say that. One person in attendance even said that he told the crowd, quote unquote, "You've heard nothing." Now, just to be clear, you should still take this news with a grain of salt for the time being, but there does seem to be multiple accounts from people who were in attendance at this interview. There's various pictures floating around online, and there's a lot of reports about it. So, this is genuinely incredible news if true, and if it is, the only question I have, and a lot of people are probably going to have, is whether it's going to be a 3D remake in the same vein as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Intergrade, or if it'll instead be an HD 2D remake. Now, my bet is that it'll be an HD 2D game, and one of the reasons I say that is because of Yuji Horí's involvement. Of course, they've been working on the Dragon Quest HD 2D games. That's the games that he worked on in the past. So Chrono Trigger in that style makes a lot of sense as well. Let me know what you all think about this, though. Would you prefer it to be 3D or HD? For me, I'm going to be happy either way, but let me hear your opinion in the comments below. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.